I am so glad you convinced me that the family car should be the Defender 110. It is so beautiful inside. It's so comfortable, and it just feels indestructible.
Yes, it really is. I've been waiting a long time for the new model to come out. The Defender 110, I'm telling you, it's my favorite car of all times. It's my third one. You know, I have stories of going off-road. The guy managed the group. He was like, what are you doing in this beautiful car? I'm like, I'm going off-road. He's like, are you sure? Because you can use one of ours. And then they look like Mad Max cars. I'm like, no, we're going to do this. And he was shocked.
Wow. Well, it's great because the Defender has been reimagined for 21st century adventure, and its unparalleled off-road ability, as well as its robust interior, are invaluable whether you're headed towards uncharted territory or just a weekend of exploration. The Defender 110 tackles challenging surroundings with absolute confidence. The SUV conveys strength outside and in, featuring peerless technology like an intuitive driver display and an award-winning infotainment system. That's my favorite part, to keep you connected no matter where the journey takes you. Adventure is unique to everyone, and so is the Defender. Choose from the 2-door Defender 90, the 4-door Defender 110, or the larger Defender 130 with the ability to seat up to 8 passengers. You'll find uncompromising performance in all three. So pack up and go even further with the Defender 110. Learn more at LandRoverUSA.com/Defender.
Capella University is rethinking higher education. With its game-changing FlexPath learning format, you can earn your degree on your schedule and fit your education seamlessly into your life. Imagine your future differently at capella.edu.
This isn't your average business podcast, and he's not your average host. This is the James Altucher Show on the Choose Yourself Network. Today on the James Altucher Show.
We wanted to start from the bottom. We wanted to start from the bottom of the bottom. We wanted to know every aspect of this business, and we wanted to grow our own voice.
You mentioned finding your own voice. Like, that's the real trick. And for 20 years, you've been in the club since you were 10 years old. Would you say there's any hacks to shortcut the 20 years? What would you do differently now to increase the pace?
I don't think you want to take the shortcut in anything that you're really passionate about and you really want to be a big part of your life.
Yeah.
You want to taste and feel and see and experience all of it. I do. Rolling. There we go. Jay got it.
So, Sherrod Small,
yes,
stand-up comedian, all-around personality.
Yeah.
I feel like you're actor, writer, producer, podcaster, radio broadcaster. You've done everything.
I'm just trying to eat, James.
You tour all over the country. You're at clubs all around the city. I hope you don't mind me mentioning you're Chris Rock's cousin. And your cousin Tony Rock, when he was on, he mentioned how you guys together basically grew up in the clubs, the comedy clubs, for the past 20 years, working hard and paying your dues. So I wanted to have you on and talk more about it.
Thanks for having me, first of all. Yeah, Tone's like my brother. We grew up together and shit like that. And we started comedy together, I hate to say it, 20 years ago.
20 years ago.
It'll be 20 years in July.
And he was telling me how you would basically do like, go up on stage 20 times a week.
Oh, yeah.
And if anybody wanted to hang out with you, like girls, guys, whatever, they'd have to like go to whatever club you were at moment.
We did every show. First of all, we did, even before we got into the clubs, we just did bringer shows and we did open mics, Hamburger Harry's, who we used to do, Henrietta Hudson's. That was a lesbian bar. So as soon as you walk in with a dick, you're getting booed. So you have to work that crowd. And went there me and Tom went there every week for, I don't even know, 6 months.
And like what, I always want to, what drove you to it? Like, it's a hard life.
It is a hard life, but I think we always.
And you had some kind of inspiration, I guess. You saw Chris do it and he became super successful and made a lot of money. So you had like this, you saw that there was a path to success.
We knew it could work. And plus, even before the money, we saw Chrissy coming home with hot girls. And we said, we're going to do this shit. This is what we're going to do. Every night he would come home with a hot one from like the comic strip or Catch a Rising Star and was like, what the hell? Don't they know that he's a dork?
That's funny. And then would you see his attitude change like once he started getting bigger and bigger?
Yeah. But Chrissy's always been, that's one thing I give him. He's always been the dude he is now. but he was just more annoying when it wasn't famous. When somebody just snapping on you first thing in the morning, it was just annoying. But once he started getting there, like when SNL came around, and then it got big. And he used to come pick me and my cousin Brian up from school, and the kids would lose it.
Yeah.
And I was like, okay, this is a thing so when you're a young kid and you see this right in front of you, like, I want to be part of this shit.
And so you figured you would try it. What was it like the first time you went up?
First
and so what I'm getting at is 20 years, you've certainly had this huge arc of learning where sometimes you would be on a sharp learning curve. Sometimes you'd be probably disappointed in yourself and you'd have to figure things out. Like, I'm just curious, each step of the way, what you learned, how you realized you needed to learn it, what you failed at, and then ultimately you branched out to so many different things, like you said, to pay the bills.
Yeah.
And I'm just curious about the whole part. So, like, when you first started, what was going wrong? What kept you going?
I mean, I just was hungry from the beginning. I remember Greg Giraldo used to always say to me and Tone, because he used to always see us so excited at the clubs just because we got a spot. Like, that was a big thing for us. And he was like, man, I hope y'all never lose that enthusiasm, because it's just to see somebody that excited to just do these spots. He was like, it re-energized him into comedy too. It's like, it's addictive. And we were just always happy and ready to go. But we grew up, even before we started doing comedy, just from being around Chrissy, we used to come to the clubs, even when we were like fucking 10 years old. And just to see it, like, to us, like, even Lucian Hold, who ran the comic strip, to us, he might as well have been fucking Michael Jordan. Because that's the people that we admired.
And then
Rick Newman, who owned Catch, it was like Rick Newman, and the other kids would be like this, who the hell are you talking about?
But then when you started, you feel like, why are we starting it just at the Bringer shows? We know all these guys. We know Chris. Why aren't we just like right on the stage?
We wanted to start from the bottom. We wanted to start from the bottom of the bottom. We wanted to know every aspect of this business, and we wanted to, just grow our own voice. You got to do a lot of different rooms to do that.
Yeah,
if you really want to get at it.
Well, that's an interesting thing, because I think people confuse, and correct me if I'm wrong, I think people confuse stand-up comedy with pure humor. Like, if my only goal is to laugh, I'll watch like cat videos on YouTube.
Right.
Like, there's something else about, like, and you mentioned finding your own voice. Like, that's the real trick. Like, you look at like the greatest comedians of all, they find their voice, and then magically their career just shoots through the roof.
But that takes time. And plus, we all start, as comedians, we all start with other people's voices. Whoever your favorite comedian is, you're going to have a touch of that in your fucking stand-up when you go on stage. So you might hear some Attell and your shit, but gradually you'll get out of that and find you. But we all use each other as crutches to go up. Even I remember back in the day, even before I was in comedy, I remember Colin Quinn used to get mad at Dave Attell because he said he was stealing his act. People don't know the history. See, y'all don't know the history. They used to have beef because Colin said he was stealing his shit.
That's funny, because David Attell has such a unique voice too.
Unique,
so different from Colin Quinn.
Exactly, but it had to come from somewhere. Like, he had to use somebody as a crutch to find your voice. You use whatever you know to try to get where you got to go.
Yeah, I think it was. Further back, of course, people were always saying Robbin Williams was stealing different people's acts.
He takes people's shows.
Rosie O'Donnell was accused of stealing Jerry Seinfeld's act. Like, it's been just forever.
Yeah.
So who were your earliest influences?
So many, man. I mean,
some of them had to be historical in the sense that you didn't know them personally, and some of them had to be the people you were seeing every night.
Well, I definitely like, Pryor and all that kind of stuff, and Lenny Bruce, because we had those books in the house because Chrissy had. So we just read all that shit, and we watched all the videos. Bobcat, Goldthwait, one just funny. I had so many favorites that I was just maybe off the mainstream charts, but I just like comics. I think all comics have something to give.
And then when you were writing those first jokes, like, what would be your process? You and Tony would be writing together. Yeah. What would be the process?
We usually either we'll write together or we'll write it separate, and then can't wait to tell each other what we wrote, and then help build on it. But the process was just usually, we just try to write maybe 5 to 10 minutes and then get on stage, because most of it's going to grow on the stage anyway.
Yeah, that's really interesting. So you were just to kind of take notes. Would you think in terms of setup, punchline? Or
mostly bullet points.
Uh-huh.
The first initial jokes, it was more written in it, because then you learn, okay, all I really need is these, I can cut the fat off, get to the bullet points, and then build the shit on the stage.
Right. What is it? So let's talk about that, because I'm sure the process evolved. But Tony described something similar to me. what would be like sample bullet points, and what does it mean build the shit on the stage? Because I think that process of using the stage and the audience to generate ideas in your imagination on the spot, that's almost like a sport. Like,
yeah, it is.
And then when you get that reaction from the crowd, it's like winning at the sport.
Yeah.
So what would you do? What's the process actually like?
We just always got
What's a bullet point?
A bullet point would be like Subway or a fat girl or a dating, and then something about dating, like breaking up. And then maybe you have your own personal story about breaking up. And then when you take that to the stage, you'll see when you breathe air into it, even how the crowd reacts to certain parts. Because some parts you'll be like this. Here's where the laugh is when you write it. It's like the laugh might not come there. So you got to really take it to the stage before you see where the actual organic laugh comes from.
So okay, let's take that as an example, because I always find, so I've been doing public speaking for a long time, and I always have been able to get people to laugh. But stand-up comedy is different,
right,
because it's sort of like, people don't always follow this, and it's not really a rule, but people always say you want to get people to laugh every 10, 15 seconds or so in stand-up. In public speaking, that it doesn't, if you get them to laugh at all, it's a huge win.
Right.
So I often riff in public speaking, and often it's funny, but it's to kind of squeeze it down to every 15 seconds, it's hard to do. So I have a hard time telling real stories on a stand-up comedy stage. So if you like dating and breaking up, and you have a personal story, you broke up with some girl and it was hard or whatever, how would that turn into a joke on stage?
But you can add stuff, this in storytelling on stage, you can add stuff. Just like if you say, hey, I broke up with my girlfriend this week. First of all, she had all the power in the relationship. Let's do something like that. Because she had the vagina. And the vagina just more, if I had a vagina, I wouldn't pay for anything. And she took it away from me. And then you go into more personal things. Then you come back to maybe a joke, like if I had a vagina, I wouldn't pay for MetroCard or Nintendo Switch. And she had all the power, all the hand, and you build it like that.
Uh-huh.
But as long as you stay as close to the truth, the funny and all the real shit is really where the jokes are.
And I guess that's what you refer to when you're sort of finding your voice.
Right.
Like, what would you say? And by the way, we've kind of skipped a lot of stuff. Like, I want to talk about the Race Wars podcast. Also, Michelle Wolf just did the White House Correspondents' Dinner. You were on CBS as their official commentator about that. All these interesting things you do. But I am still fascinated by kind of the process of the process. So like, finding your voice, what does that mean?
It's just you got to go on stage a lot. For me, how I did it is just I just stayed doing it. And then eventually you be like this, holy shit, how did I get here? And now I sound separate, different from everybody else. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Like, it's just doing it and doing it and doing it. I think it's also important to do it in other rooms and doing it around, because you're going to get a different feedback and vibe from each room, each crowd. I think I never had a crowd that was the same, ever. I did a million shows. They all organically different, and some of these things work different ways in these rooms. And then you'll find tricks of the trade where you know how to manipulate the crowd and make them pay attention and laugh at a certain point.
How do you do that?
It's just through words. You just got to make sure you got their attention.
Like, let's say a crowd, like you're starting your set, you're doing jokes that have killed in the past, but the crowd, for whatever reason, is silent.
I'll just go, you know what? I know I might say smart people help the slow people. I might say something like that. Just anything simple, because people go like this, I ain't no slow person. They say that to themselves, so they'll lock in and start paying attention.
Right.
And start hearing the jokes.
I like that. Smart people, come on, smart guys, help us.
I just prod them like cattle. I don't give a fuck.
Yeah, well, that's what I've heard said about your comedy, and I see it too on your stuff, is that it's like you don't really, you come across as you don't really care what the crowd's thinking. One time at the Comedy Cellar, you said, look, I'm not going to spoon feed you guys. Like, I think you have to have this, or tell me if I'm wrong, you have to have this attitude that you don't care what they're thinking, so that they come to you.
Yes, you don't want to, listen, no audience would go to a try comedy club if it was named Try Comedy, because nobody wants to see you trying shit in public. That's for babies and slow people.
Right.
They don't want to see adults try. So if you look like you not driving the fucking bus up there, they're going to feel nervous in the bus. So you got to have all the confidence in the world. I don't give a fuck what it is. I remember Colin Quinn used to have a joke. He's like, even if you have a bucket of shit, if you go like this, hey, back up, guys. I got my bucket of shit here. Please back up my bucket of shit. People go like this, I need a bucket of shit. So if you believe in it, then they'll believe in it. But you got to have that.
So it seems like confidence more important even than the writing process and the humor. Like, how did you develop that confidence on the stage?
You just got to believe in what you're doing. You only can do what you can do. I can't go on stage and not be me. So I'm going to be me. If I can fail at me, I'm good at that. I'm fine with that. But then if I can win with me, then I'm good with that too. But I'm not going to try to change it up.
Like you do 15 minutes and there's total silence and you get off the stage. Are you like, hey, I just did the best I could? Or
James, I'll be honest with you. That never happened to me. Never.
All right,
but I mean,
good.
even if you don't get what you want from the audience, see, sometimes audiences are funny. Laughing in public for some people is just like crying in public. People don't always share emotion in public. That's why it's so weird for them to come and laugh. When you hear a room full of laughter, it's like, that's something you usually don't hear in life.
Yeah.
So a lot of people are uncomfortable with showing emotion like that. Sometimes you'll have a crowd that's quiet as shit, and then when you in, they go ape shit.
Yeah.
And you like this, where the fuck were y'all the whole time I was up there? I thought you was hating me. But they loved it the whole time. So you don't know how they're going to share their like or dislike all the time.
And I mean, has your process changed much since those beginning days? Like, do you write all the time for?
Yeah, I jot shit all the time. I always try to keep notes because most of the time I'll think of something. Just like any comic, we'll think of things and then we don't put it down. And be like this. Fuck! What was it that I was thinking about? And then that's torturous. So I try to at least jot something or put it on my phone or send me a text message.
And then how do you? I know I'm asking all these specifics. I'm really interested in all this. Like when you just get on stage, let's say the crowd doesn't know who you are. Your opening joke, you want to kind of both make yourself likable and you want them to laugh. What are you thinking for that opening joke?
Something with AIDS. No. Lead off with an AIDS joke. They like that.
That'll always
break up a crowd.
Yeah.
Especially at the schools. They like that.
Right.
No, I mean, you just try to go in there and, hit them hard first. Get their attention real fast.
Like, what's an example?
Sometimes you go on and say nothing. And you be shocked how silence is the best fucking tool you have on stage. Just silence. No words. If you get on stage and just look and stay there for 10 seconds, I guarantee you laugh. I guarantee it. And then it brings them in, though.
Yeah.
And then you got them. Sometimes it's not just like some comics like Todd Barry got a slow approach.
Yeah.
But that slow approach brings the crowds in. And some people go right at a crowd. So it's different ways to get the same effect.
Yeah.
You just gotta, find your way. It's like a fingerprint.
What's your usual way?
I just try to make it organic and make it real. You know what I'm saying? Sometimes, I play it by ear. Sometimes if you go in too hard with a crowd, they'll recoil. And you'll be like, this crowd ain't good. It's like, not really. You could have came in a different way and made them good. It's like, look, the crowds are always the novice in the room. I don't care how many shows they've been to. We've done more as performers. So we're in charge of that. And the jokes don't need them to be funny. Because we do so many shows, we know these shits are funny. So as long as you know that, you'll find transcendence.
I guess Seinfeld said that. He always said that whenever the crowd was silent, he would just fall back on the material and eventually the material would win.
Yep.
But I don't know. I mean, he's Seinfeld and you're Sherrod and you're both saying this. But it seems to me like if you've lost a crowd at some point, if they just don't like you, they're not going to laugh no matter what the material is.
Not necessarily. Sometimes when you lose a crowd, you can get them back. Mm-hmm. I think most of the time. But sometimes when you lose a crowd, you go like this, fuck this crowd. I'm going to lose them more. And you learn a lot from those sets where you just say, fuck it. Y'all want to go there? Let's go. I ain't going to try to win you over. I'm not going to charm you. I'm just going to give you these jokes.
Like, what's the worst example where you really thought a crowd hated you and you said, I'm just gonna lean into this and have fun?
Oh, I had several of those. And those turn into some of the best sets, I swear.
Like what happened?
Maybe, I'm trying to think like the last one that I had like that. I think it might have been The Stand, or it might have been downstairs. I don't remember what room it was. Oh, it might have been West Side. I don't know. So many shows. But the crowd was just cold and tired, and they were just not giving it. And I was like, all right, I could pull at them and try to get them that way. And then I said, you know what? Let's feed into their dark feelings and what they're going through right now. And that won them over. That made them come back.
What did you say to feed into their dark feelings?
First of all, I started off like, crowd, it's late for me too. Just to humanize the situation. And then I went into it, it's like, you look like you arguing with your girlfriend. You look like you can't pay your bill. You look asking what gratuity is. And then I just ran with that. And then that brought them back, these monkeys back in.
But what's interesting there is you didn't ask. So sometimes crowd work, you ask them questions like, where are you from? What's your job? These kinds of things.
Yeah.
you weren't asking them questions, you were making statements.
Yep.
And I sometimes find with silent crowds, whether it's stand-up or even public speaking or even in a business meeting, statements about somebody where they have to kind of either pay attention or defend or figure out what you're saying, that brings them to greater attention than if you ask them a question. Because if you ask them a question, they might be annoyed at you.
It's like a test, like a quiz. Nobody wants to take a pop quiz and be embarrassed, but I'll just make my assumptions. I'll read them, get what I get from seeing them, and then just play off of that shit.
Right, and that brings them to that, like you said, it like snaps them to attention. Like they have to, what did he just say about me?
Yeah.
Like they have to, understand whether they're going to play a role or not.
It's just like in school, teacher call on you. If you hear your name, you're like this, fuck, I gotta fucking pay attention. Or they look right in your face and they talk right to you, then you gotta lock in.
And what about, is this a similar process for like closing joke? Like do you know in advance what your closing joke's gonna be?
A lot of time, yeah. I gotta, but sometimes you switch it up or mix it up.
What's your perspective on like, if you watch Dave Chappelle, Chris Rock,
never heard of him.
Sherrod, Carmichael, a lot of the jokes are always about race. It's the natural, and your podcast, Race Wars.
Yeah.
So it's sort of like
we named our podcast Race Wars just to keep sensitive people away from it. Because if you listen to a show and say, oh, they really pissed me off with what they said, and then people say, hey, what's the name of the show? And you say Race Wars, they'd be like, you're an idiot. Why are you listening to that? I wanted to name it Kicking Babies.
Well, I forgot who said the joke. Racists don't go to comedy clubs to tell race jokes.
Right.
Like racists are wearing white hoods somewhere.
Yeah.
They're not like standing up on stage and talking to 15 people about racist jokes.
They might do it at the water cooler.
Right. So it's sort of odd when people say that's racist or that's offensive. Like if someone's really an offensive person, they're not going to
they're not going to the microphone. Yeah, exactly. When you're in the green room with all the other ethnicities.
Right.
Most, no clubs are like all white as far as like performing. So it's a silly thing to do if you're a racist to get into comedy.
But here's the question I have. So
well, they do.
So I in almost not just on stage but just in everyday life, I never even because of who I am, what I look like, I never even think or talk about race. And yet, it's so much a part of a black person's life. And it's so much a part of a black comedian's life. This is your material. There's so much content about race. Yeah. And just
because we deal with it. When it's in your face like that, you got to talk about what's happening.
Like how often, and I'm asking this from a totally naive perspective, how often do you deal with it in daily life?
Enough.
Yeah?
Yeah. Mostly me talking about my black dick.
And then people are like, why did you talk about that?
I'm like, I don't know.
Please pull you over.
I always talk about it on the bus. I'm on the bus when I do that. I mean, yeah, you just deal with, you're going to see somebody cross the street or move the bag. It ain't like just white people do it. Black people do it to black people. But it's still a race thing, kind of, yeah.
Sort of like how, that Greer Barnes joke, he did it on Colbert, where he's like, if I see, if I'm walking in Harlem and I see a white woman in front of me, he's got to cross the street.
Oh, yeah, all the time. Ain't nothing scarier to black people than a lone white woman late night in the ghetto. It's like, what does this bitch know that I don't know? Let me get out of here.
Right, that's funny.
This is a setup.
So it's funny though, but it's almost like you're given all this material that you could work with. That and it's everybody. Again, you, Chris Rock, Dave, everybody, Godfrey, everybody talks about race. White comedians don't really talk or
some
speak.
Some do, but the thing is some do. Some talk about race, but I guess they talk about it in a different way. But not a lot of white dudes. A lot of white dudes will talk about dating or, something else. But I think nowadays everybody got to have some. And plus, when you see a lot of people talking about any topic, you got to make your angle fresh and new and a different perspective. Otherwise, it just sounds like a fucking hashed.
So I guess that's the challenge, because, for instance,
it's a big challenge.
I'll hear Dave Chappelle and Sherrod Carmichael both make the similar joke, not the same, like they're not copying each other, but similar joke. Like you have to. Right. Probably the challenge is to find that fresh material, because you have everybody from Richard Pryor on kind of dealing with this topic.
But here's the thing: everybody's perspective is different, though. Mm-hmm. Even if it's a shade different, but if you stay close to what your real perspective, everything, and your truth, it's going to be different than somebody else's. at the end process. It might sound the same, might have the same premises, but you can make a different angle and show a different side to it. I think everybody has a different side. We all see things differently. Even if it's a similar scene, we all see something different.
So like give me an example, like where you almost every example you come up with, I'm sure I've heard from some other comedian. So how do you go about making it fresh? I'm sure you've heard from some other comedians. So how do you listen to that and then try to make it fresh?
I just try to keep it my perspective, and I just try to keep it my sense of humor. And I think as long as I stay close to that, it'll be different than other people's shit. Mm-hmm. Like everybody talk about the cops. There's a lot of cops thing. Black people in cop. I think every black comic will have a cop joke.
Right. Yeah, but, like Chris. So let's just look at their last two specials, Chris Rock and Dave Chappelle. Right. So Chris Rock would say, I'm famous, but I'm not Michael Jackson famous. Right. And then he has the joke where the cops don't recognize him. Yeah. And they're insulting him until they're like 5 feet from him. They're like, oh, Chris Rock. And and then Dave Chappelle has the thing where the cops are pulling him over and his friend's like all panicking, and Dave Chappelle's like, I'm not worried at all. I'm Dave Chappelle. And so that's his perspective on it.
But that's a newer perspective for Dave. That wasn't his early perspective.
Right.
He had an old joke about him being in a car, getting pulled over with a white friend, and his white friend's all arrogant, and he's scared as shit in the car.
Right.
And meanwhile, his white friend's turning up the radio and is like, we're not gonna take it. As the cop walked up to the car.
And he has all the jokes about, like, if you're in a gang, you better have like some white people in the gang, because if shit goes down, you need the white person to talk to the cops.
Yeah.
So he has this whole thing. But you're right, it did switch.
Yeah. I heard that kind of premise before, type of thing. Yeah.
So how do you
on my show, actually, on A&E, me and Christian Finnegan had a show on A&E called Black and White.
So just to put that in perspective, so Christian Finnegan is like the whitest looking comic.
He's very white. If you watch Chappelle's show, he was in the real world. He played the white kid who they was fucking his girlfriend. Remember the real world? It was on Chappelle. It was a big skit on there. People think he was on every season. He was on that one sketch. But yeah, he's the whitest dude. And Neil Brennan hired him because he was the whitest dude that he knew. Christian's very white. So we had a show on Black and White. Very funny. Me and Christian did a lot of TV together. A lot. From Best Weekend with a bunch of shit.
Was it odd that A&E called you guys for this? Were you like pitching the show around and A&E took it?
Well, A&E got interested. History Channel was interested too, because it's the same owners, A&E and History Channel. Yeah. So they actually had an internal thing going back and forth. And I was weirded out by both channels, because I'm like, are y'all really going to get behind this? Because we really saying some edgy shit. And they paid for it.
Who came? How did it happen? Like, because I'm curious about this process also. Like, did you and Christian come up with this idea and pitch it to an agent, and the agent said, this is perfect for the History Channel?
No, what happened was, first of all, I told Christian years ago, because we always did TV shows together, I said, motherfucker, let's do our own show. We don't got to wait for the white man to give us a show. Right. They put us on every show together. So let's do our own. And then eventually we did it. But we already knew producers, so we just brought our own producers who we trusted, and we told them about the idea. They were very excited about it. And then
who's they? Like A&E?
No, Jim Barrowman and oh my God, Jim Biederman and God damn, I'm forgetting names.
But that's okay. I'm just thinking, like, were they producers who had like deals already with A&E? Or
they had relationships with A&E and a couple other networks as well.
So then they would help you pitch the full show,
right? Then we went in, and then plus people who were working at A&E, I already knew from working at VH1, and some of the same had people over there moved to A&E, so they were very interested for us to bring a show over.
And they would say, okay, here's a budget for a pilot, and then you made a pilot. With your producers.
We first met with them, told them the idea. Some of the execs from like Texas or whatever came up, or California came out, and we had a big meeting. And then we just charmed them.
Because it was very different for them, right? It's just you and another comic talking about race issues.
And doing sketches
on
and stuff. Yeah.
You don't see Key and Peele on A&E. Like, it's a very odd kind of format.
Spike was sniffing around too. There's a couple channels sniffing around, but money talks. And then once we knew A&E and History Channel both wanted it, we kind of figured it's going to end up with that company.
Yeah.
And
but what did it end up? I mean, you're not there now. Like, did it end up not being such a natural fit for them?
No. First of all, it was their first studio show, like live in studio show on it, because they're trying to do a new thing over there. They're trying to bring a different edge, because Duck Dynasty and shit, all that's gone now. So they were trying to bring a different edge to They were trying to change the network. So we were the first studio show. I was like, if they promoted it right, I think it could have worked better. They just didn't market it as well as they should have.
Yeah, because it could have been a really new, they could have
Plus,
said
they were
this is a
scared
new
too.
direction.
It scared a lot of people over there, but
because they probably have an older demographic, so maybe that scared them.
But a lot of people over at the network loved the show. They laughed. Every time we fucking tested anything in it, everybody loved it and laughed. But I can see that it can make some people nervous, definitely in Middle America. But the lady who was in charge of the whole thing, she actually was a graduate from SMU. She was that's Southern Methodist. There's some Christian people who run that fucking network. You think Jews run all of that? No.
We only run 90% of them.
90%. But yeah, those Christians still got their hand in there. But they were really nice people. They were really cool, and they really let us do what we wanted to do. We shot what we wanted to shoot.
And so you did sketches, and you did...
We did sketches, we did interviews. We did a bunch of stuff.
Did you guys have fun?
Q&A. We had a ball. I mean, it was mad fun. I'm so happy about the finished product that we did. We did 8 episodes. I'm happy as shit about the product, but they just didn't push it out there like that.
And I'm just curious, with a cable show like that on a channel like that, how many people would watch per episode on average?
I have no idea.
Is it 1 million? Is it 100,000? Is it 10 million?
Maybe
I don't even know.
I'm thinking it's somewhere around 700,000, somewhere around there. But they're trying to get more. Yeah.
So it's so interesting because I just try to think of just the landscape of media. Like right now, you have Netflix and Amazon buying hundreds and hundreds of shows that nobody's ever going to hear about. 99% of the shows Netflix is making, nobody ever watches or hears about.
Right.
And 1% will succeed.
Right.
And even with their comedy specials, they bought 52 comedy specials last year. I think I watched, maybe 10 of them.
Right.
And Amazon's doing the same thing, and Hulu's doing it.
A lot of people get lost in the sauce. Yeah. It's easy to get lost in the sauce.
And meanwhile, you have YouTube channels that are if you have a good YouTube channel, you're going to get millions of views an episode. So it seems like people should produce for YouTube in mind and not TV in mind right now. I don't know. Right. What do you think about that?
I think so too. I think the whole landscape has changed. I think the way people watch media and entertainment has changed. Definitely younger people. They don't sit in front of a fucking TV. They watch it on their fucking laptops and their phones so you gotta try to get that audience. And that's not always a network type of situation. Even though the networks are trying to chase that now. You know what I'm saying? They're trying to be mobile. They got their mobile apps for every network, but it's still not the same as Netflix and shit like that.
Well, and I feel like Netflix eventually they're going to have to stop paying $10 billion a year for original content because no one's watching their content.
Yeah, they paid a lot of money out these last couple of years, don't you think?
Yeah, it's $10 billion a year, and Amazon and Netflix keep trying to up each other.
Right.
And and then Amazon's they're all then canceling shows that don't. That aren't home runs. Amazon had a pretty decent
Nothing
show.
gets a chance.
Yeah,
you don't get a chance to breathe and grow no more. It's either hit or gone.
The classic example, Seinfeld was the bottom ranked show for its first 2 or 3 seasons, and then of course became the #1 show. That wouldn't even last 3 episodes now.
Yeah,
and and Amazon had a show. Someone kept telling me I never watched it, but someone kept telling me the best show, you got to watch the show Mozart in the Jungle on Amazon. And I was about to start watching, and then I just see Amazon just canceled it.
Wow.
So here was a show that had a fan base, and I guess it was pretty good enough for my friend to like it, and just Amazon doesn't give any show a chance.
Now, did they end that show mid-season?
I don't know. But CBS just ended a show being done by a friend of mine. The show
yeah,
Tony Rock was
on.
in it.
They ended that show already, and it was. I was so angry they ended that fucking show.
It was a
good show.
Yeah, AJ Jacobs, who wrote The Art of Living Biblically, he's been on the podcast 5 times.
Really?
We wanted that show to succeed.
It's they didn't give it a chance, man.
3 or 4 episodes.
But so what's the answer to that? How do you fix that shit? Do you just change mediums?
Think about what's in between you and having a show produced. There's a manager, an agent, first production company that buys the rights, then the production company that has the relationship with the channel.
Yeah.
Then you have CBS, the channel, but then there's CBS, the company. So there's so many people who are not as smart as you, almost by definition, who have to say yes to this every single show.
Yeah. And they got their fingerprints on it too, because somebody want to tweak this or turn this.
Right. So someone's either getting fired or not. And so they'd rather sacrifice you than their own careers.
Right.
And so I think we had one of the heads of YouTube on here, and just the numbers he was telling me, it seems like the only route to go is either YouTube, Instagram, or maybe podcasts, but podcasts are not getting 700,000 views an episode unless it's Joe Rogan or something.
Right.
So like with Race Wars, you could essentially do what you did with Christian with Race Wars.
Yeah,
by
that's what we're doing
videotaping and
too.
putting it on YouTube.
Yeah, we already had offers to turn Race Wars into a TV show. And I just wanted to do it the right way. And I wanted to do it on the right thing. So YouTube might be that option for us.
You know what I love about fantasy sports is that even though I'm not going to be a great basketball player or a baseball player or a football player or whatever, I feel like I get to participate and make decisions and use my knowledge of these different leagues or these different sports to compete. So it's like I can pick my team or I can pick my favorite players and I could use my knowledge to make predictions and maybe even make money. So with the basketball season here, you can now pick combo projections across football and basketball from the Specials League on Prize Picks. This is a league created specifically for combo projections that include two or more players from different sports or leagues. Want to play alongside some of Prize Picks' favorite players like rapper Meek Mill and comedian Andrew Schultz, who's also been a guest on this podcast, and I've been a guest on his? You can now find community plays under the promos tab of the app to view entries for some of the biggest names in the Prize Picks community each week. Look, Prize Picks even offers a reboot policy so that your entries stay in play even if one of your players gets injured. For football and basketball games, if you have a player who exits the game in the first half and does not return in the second, that player is rebooted. Prize Picks is the only daily fantasy sports platform with an injury insurance policy. What? So, I love playing it. I love anywhere where I can use analytical ability with my interests to demonstrate some skill and maybe make some money. And I like the game-like aspect. I do wish they had chess as a category on prizepicks.com, but I'll settle for what they've got. Maybe I should make my own fantasy chess league. But in any case, I love Prize Picks. Go to prizepicks.com/James. Use code James for a first deposit match up to $100. That's the easiest $100 you're ever going to make. So that's prizepicks.com/James and use code James. Daily fantasy sports made easy. The future of learning is definitely online. Like, it's such BS that you have to spend $200,000 or take $200,000 in loans and go to some fancy school when it's useless. It doesn't guarantee you a job. Most employers, including me, do not care about degrees or grades or anything like that. We want to care that you love what you're doing, that you know what you're doing, in some cases that you have experience or that you're willing to learn. But people in general love learning and are curious. Like, the key to success is curiosity. And I think masterclass.com is the perfect model for online learning. I'm really happy they're sponsoring this episode. If you're going to give a gift, give the gift of learning. Masterclass makes a meaningful gift this season for you and anyone on your list, because both of you can learn from the best to become your best, from leadership to effective communication to cooking. Let me tell you some of the classes I've taken. I've taken comedy from Steve Martin. I mean, can you believe I can take a class from Steve Martin on comedy, or Judd Apatow, my favorite comedy director? I could take an actual class from him on writing. Wolfgang Puck on cooking. Dan Brown on writing, or Judy Bloom, who's been on this podcast, on writing. By the way, Wolfgang Puck also has been on this podcast. It's such a pleasure. I try to take classes all the time from masterclass.com. And whether you're watching Masterclass on TV or listening in audio mode in the app or on their site, the quality speaks for itself. It's like these Masterclass instructors are your own personal mentors that are going to help you reach the next level. How much would it cost to take one-on-one classes on comedy from Steve Martin or on chess from Gary Kasparov? You just wouldn't be able to do it. But it would cost hundreds of thousands of dollars. With a Masterclass annual membership, it's $10 a month. Memberships start at $120 a year for unlimited access to one-on-one classes with all 180 plus Masterclass instructors. So it's not just $120 for one instructor. You get all 180 plus Masterclass instructors.
Boost your confidence and find practical takeaways you can apply to your life and at work. And if you own a business or are a team leader, use Masterclass to empower and create future-ready employees and leaders. That's the real education in today's world. So this holiday season, you can give one annual membership and get one free at masterclass.com/JAS. JAS, of course, stands for the James Altucher Show. So right now you can get 2 memberships for the price of one at masterclass.com/JAS. Masterclass.com/JAS. Offer terms apply.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry, and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power, so how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/advance. That's oracle.com/advance. oracle.com/advance.
First off, you could take Race Wars, the podcast, and you could add, editing to bring in a different type of humor, and then you have room for sketches too, like man on the street type stuff.
Yeah.
That you could throw in the channel. I don't know. I feel like there's something there because Race Wars, you are dealing with in each one is such interesting topics and conversations. You've got like such charismatic personalities on each one. Like that's the whole basis of it is you take these high stakes topics. You have these charismatic personalities on who are comedians. And then if you throw in like elements like sketch and editing, it's like you have a show. But is it a TV show or will you do better at YouTube? I don't know.
Yeah. And plus, then if you do it YouTube, then it's the money people get scared too. Mm-hmm. People who put up money and they get nervous about, because people who, I don't know, sometimes you just, the risk, everybody don't want to take the risk. Because we do talk about, risky stuff sometimes. Even though it's like whimsical and fucking...
Which you could do on YouTube, but not necessarily TV.
Right.
But TV still got, like as opposed to YouTube, I feel TV, at least for our generation, has that kind of, you feel good. Like TV chose me. Like I'm going to be a TV star. Yeah. Kids don't give a shit. Like if they're a YouTube star, that's
more than they
that's
love
better.
That. Yeah, it is better.
So because they realize, I got 50 million people watching me. What do I need like a TV show for?
And plus, there's a freedom in that for them. For YouTube, it's like it's anti-corporate, even though it's corporate as fuck.
Yeah,
but they feel like it's a corporate thing and they can control their own destiny with it.
Yeah. So like you've done very good job of saying, okay, I'm going to build up my skills at stand-up comedy, which is an incredibly hard skill. You've been doing it for 20 years. You're among the best, but there's so many different like micro skills you had to master. But you correctly said, okay, I also need to work on my acting, and you can list them, but you've been in a bunch of different things.
Yeah.
I need to be a writer. You've written on for different things. Yeah. I need to be a producer. Like, what are you producing now? You're producing a whole bunch of stuff now, right?
Yeah, I'm doing a food show, actually, that I'm working on for maybe be Food Network, but with Carl Ruiz, who's a chef and a friend of mine, but he's on Guy Fieri's shows and network, yeah. And
what's the food show?
I already had a food show, too, Men versus Food, me and Bobby Kelly. You know Man versus Food, Adam's show. Me and Robert Kelly, comedian, we did Men versus Food on Travel Channel after that.
And what was the show? Like you
just
guys
going around
cooking?
eating? Going around to restaurants and eating?
Last week, or
great.
2 weeks ago.
Good work if you can get it.
Do you know this Chinese Cuban place on the corner?
Oh, yeah.
So I just saw Bobby Kelly there like the other day.
Oh, did you?
Yeah. I didn't talk to him or anything, but...
you should have said hi.
I should
have. He was too busy eating them out of house and home.
Yeah. I like that episode of Louis where they're doing a bang bang. Like they eat like 2 huge meals in a row because they're supposed to exercise the next day. And so they figure they're just going to like do this one like blowout eating fest. and then they decide not to exercise the next day.
That's hilarious.
But like, what attracted you to doing a food show?
Because I love food, for one, and it's just fun to shoot. It's a fun shows to shoot, and I got a whole bunch of chef friends, and I've been hanging out with them for the last few years, and I'm like, you know what? Yeah, this works. Bringing comedy and food together. I just did the birthday comedy show at the Comedy Cellar for Carl's birthday a couple weeks ago.
For whose birthday?
Carl Ruiz.
Okay.
It's Chef Carl Ruiz. And it was a great show. I had a whole bunch of comics on it, Bonnie McFarlane, Mark Norman, everybody. And a whole bunch of chefs came through. Guy Fieri came, Alex Guarnaschelli, who owns Butter. I don't know if you know Alex. She's also a judge on these food shows.
Yeah.
Then Goldman from Charm City Cakes. And Rocco DiSpirito. Got to get Rocco in there.
Would you say your skills that you built up as a stand-up help with even something that seems unrelated, but obviously isn't, a food show?
Oh, yes, definitely.
So how?
Stand-ups helped with everything. All my TV, because first of all, stand-up gave me more confidence to even talk and joke and in front of cameras. Because if you can do it in front of people, a room full of people, the cameras don't mean shit.
Right. And you've said in before, I think in interviews, you're a shy guy. So like stand up,
I'm bashful.
I could tell. And but what are some of the other skills that like stand up has kind of given you? Because it's more than just humor, and it's more than just confidence, and it's more than just crowd work.
It's insight. It's fucking patience.
Insights into what?
Into just other people's opinions and other ways to think about things.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, sometimes you got to broaden the way that you think about stuff sometimes.
In order to see the humor.
And I'm a topical comic, so I try to keep on top of whatever's happening.
Right.
So that's a lot coming at you, definitely in this day and age.
Yeah. So, and you have to look at it in a different way than, like, it seems like there's, on every topic, there's two opinions right now.
Right.
There's the sort of Fox opinion and there's the MSNBC opinion. And I think it's maybe, correct me if I'm wrong, maybe it's the comedian's duty to find.
My opinion would be something something like Oprah. They saying Oprah's running for president in 2020.
Yeah.
Oprah Winfrey for president. And what I say on stage is like, Oprah for president, hasn't Stedman been through enough? Hasn't Stedman been emasculated enough? Now
funny.
he's got to carry the president's purse.
Okay, so let's look at that process, because if someone gave me as like a homework assignment, find the funny in Oprah running for president in 2020, probably the last thing I would have think
The
of was
Stedman angle.
So how did you, is that just...
Because he's just a dude who dates a girl. And any guy who dates a girl is like this, I get it, you're an overachiever. Can you make me some pancakes?
That's funny. But how did
and we all can relate to that as dudes.
How did you connect? Like I said, I wouldn't even have thought of Stedman.
Right.
But I guess it's a matter of like combining different things. Like, okay, dating's always funny. Oprah's running for president. How can I combine the two?
And how can I make regular people relate to the shit?
Right.
Boom.
So dating is a good one.
Yeah.
What are other things like that you could say, I'm going to use this as an overlay onto this topic? And
there's so many things.
like, okay, let's just take Trump and North Korea. Trump's going to North Korea to talk about nuclear weapons. Let's overlay something and make it funny. Putting you on the spot.
Trump's going to North Korea to
or he's going to South Korea or something. I don't even know the exact news.
First I would say I'm just happy that North and South Korea are finally making peace. Two groups of people that I will never be able to tell the difference between.
All right, so that was pretty quick. What were you thinking of? Like, what was the overlay?
And then I'll say everybody who looks alike hate each other. North and South Korea, Israelis and Palestinians, me and my parents.
Man, that was good.
There you go.
So the overlay was people who look alike hating each other. And so the idea is that often in families, people hate each other. Often, and friends hate each other.
Make it familiar to people. It makes it, this humanizes it.
That was fast.
Simplify
though. Like, how
it.
did you have like that overlay ready? Like, what did you think of? Is it just like?
That's just how my brain thinks. It just, yeah.
What's some other, like, okay, people who hate each other who look alike, dating. What are some other overlays? I like this process. Every comedian I talk to has like sort of a different process.
Give me like a hint. I don't know. Give me something.
All right. What's another one?
Another thing that's like currently in the news right now.
Bitcoin.
Bitcoin?
Yeah.
First of all, I don't have regular money. You think?
All right, boom. So poverty.
Yeah, if I go for that one. It's like, let me get a couple dollars before I get Bitcoin.
Kanye West.
Kanye West.
He was framed? I don't know. Kanye, first of all, when Kanye's saying that slavery was a choice, I have to play devil's advocate on race wars for it. Because it is a choice, but it's the worst choice you can have. Is either be a slave or die.
I don't know the story. Why did he say that slavery is a choice?
Kanye's suffering from mental illness. Nobody really wants to tap into that. And definitely not in the black community.
Right.
Mental illness might as well be voodoo.
Do you think he really is suffering from a mental illness?
Yes.
Do you know that for sure? I mean, I don't know.
I mean, I'm making
because he's a talented producer. Like, he's a great music producer. Arguably, I guess.
No, he's great. Great musician, great talent. Yeah, very talented producer. And mental illness and a taste of it.
Doesn't he also have like an album coming out? Don't you think that's every time he has something out?
No. I mean, that could be that angle. Remember how like North Korea, every spring, they used to be like, we're going to launch missiles just so we can send them food because the winter's over and everybody's starving. It's all hustle, but I don't think he was hustling like that.
So what else? It's hard to say what's in the news. I don't read the news at all, so I'm like very...
You scared of it, ain't you?
No,
it makes you fearful.
It's just that I think it's useless. I think it doesn't improve my life at all.
If you do watch the news, though, what would you watch? Would you watch like the BBC or
No, honestly, I don't.
Do you read
for 10
the
years?
news?
I haven't watched TV. I mean, I watch TV. I watch shows.
Right.
But I don't. I read books. But I don't watch any news. I don't read any newspaper. I don't read any magazine. I just think it's boring, and I'm not interested. And it doesn't really inform you because the news they lie all the time.
Right.
And it doesn't make my life better. They just try to scare you.
So how'd you find out about 9/11? You had to look out your window?
Well, literally, I was at the World Trade Center that morning.
There you go.
So that's how
it was
I
like
found
that
out.
plane's kind of close. I ain't gonna read about this, but that can't be right.
No, I was literally walking out of breakfast at the Dean and DeLuca World Trade Center, and my friend that I was walking with, there was a plane coming in, and he said, "Is the president coming to New York today?" Because this plane was just 600 feet high, and it was like seemed really low, and so we thought maybe it was Air Force One or something.
Right.
And then it just went right into the building right above us. So
crazy.
Yeah, so that's how I knew about 9/11.
I was actually in Amsterdam doing shows. I just got there 9/10, and then the next day was 9/11.
So you couldn't get back.
Couldn't get back. Had 2 weeks of shows. Me and Greer Barnes.
Wow.
We canceled that night out of respect. I said, we're not canceling this tour. And we did the whole fucking tour. It was great. Every show packed. We did theaters. We did Amsterdam, Rotterdam, Den Haag, Groningen, Tilburg, Utrecht, Harlem. We did the whole fucking country. And it was amazing. But we couldn't wait to get back home, though. People were like, you're so lucky not to be there in New York. I was like, no, motherfucker, I want to be in New York if New York goes down.
Yeah, because New York had that bonding experience around it. But, it was a weird 6 months. I lived a block away, so it was
the most peaceful time, and everybody was smiling at each other, saying hi.
Yeah, it was,
all the cab drivers wanted to make sure we knew they were American, so they had 1 million fucking American flags across the dashboard, looking like Evel Knievel, motherfucker.
So, but what's something in the news right now?
Stormy Daniels.
Oh, Stormy Daniels.
What, the boobs? Didn't Trump just admit that he did pay her?
Yeah, he admitted he paid her.
So what? First of all, I want to know this: is he paying her for sex, or he paying her to be quiet? Because any man who ever paid a prostitute or a woman for anything, you're really not paying for the sex. You paying her to leave.
Yeah, no,
Nobody prostitutes?
Actually, when I used to work at HBO and I did interview prostitutes for a living for a while.
So that was you did it for the job, and you hit a son of a bitch.
but
research you were doing?
I was doing research. Yes, it's totally true.
Client number 9, I believe you were.
It's totally true. I was calling them on the phone. I can't even say I was meeting them in person. But one woman did say that the men aren't paying for the sex. The men are paying, so we leave.
Yes.
And okay, but so that's an overlay about prostitution. That's a good overlay. And the other, like I said before, the thing it seems like you and many other comedians have figured out, but not every comedian, many comedians, but not every comedian, is that you need the multiple sources of income. You can't just do it from stand-up. Yeah. Like if you were to, some comedians do try to just do it from stand-up, and I don't think it really works for them.
I mean, it depends on what you need in your life and what you want in your life. And do you always want to be on the road 1,000 fucking days a year? Because you can make your money, but
the road makes money though. Like
road makes money. Like TV makes money too.
Look at Sebastian Maniscalco, right? Nobody's even heard of him. He's never been on a TV show.
I like Sebastian a lot.
Yeah, he's great.
Dude. Yeah,
made $15 million on the road last year.
Yeah, and can't get on a stage here at Stand Up New York.
Right,
couldn't get on stage.
He said to me specifically, "I bet you ask anybody at Stand Up New York who I am, they won't know who I am."
They wouldn't know. Comics might. The good comics would.
Yeah,
but they don't know. Yeah.
No. He does Gotham, though. He's represented by Levity, which does Gotham.
Oh, yeah, he does do Gotham, yeah. But yeah, people wouldn't.
But why
know
won't you
him.
go on the road? Like that seems like a great source of.
No, I
of
go on the
income.
road. I go on the road.
You go a lot, but like, why wouldn't you just do that? Like seeing how
Because
you
it's
have guys
lonely.
like Carrot Top and Sebastian Maniscalco make $10 million a year, and it seems like a good lucrative source.
No, well, if you going out for that kind of money, yeah, you hit the fucking road. But if you going out for $1,500 for a 2-nighter, nigga, that ain't Sebastian money,
Right.
and it gets real lonely on that fucking road.
So, but you have a lot of stuff going on here. Like you have, like I said, the podcast. You have radio stuff. You have TV stuff. What are all the things you're working on right now?
And I got the production company, Small World Comedy, and we've been doing a lot of stuff now. And we're going to shoot a special. It's secret, but I got a couple. Our first special is going to be for somebody that my company's doing. Is going to be for another comic, and I'm excited about it. It's going to be huge.
I like everything.
It's a big name person. And it's going to be huge.
Male or female?
Male.
And then what do? You're going to shoot it
We're going
at
to
a
shoot
club?
it. We're going to shoot it. Actually, we're not going to do it. We're going to do a couple times at a club, and then we're going to shoot it at a location.
Okay, and then what's the plan? Like you go to something like 3 Arts and pitch it, or do you go directly to a Netflix and pitch it?
Well, we'll figure that out. We're going to see. We're probably going to go straight to Netflix or Sony. Sony also interested in a couple things that we're doing. And plus, they got the access to those fucking gaming systems, so you can just watch it on there too.
Oh yeah, that's an interesting idea.
Yeah, they came to us about Race Wars with that, and I'm
So-
like, yeah, that's a good.
So PlayStation's producing shows?
Yeah, a lot of our listeners, they gamers too. You know, they play, so you can listen and watch it right through your device. That changes the game too. That changes the ball game.
Yeah, that's interesting. There's so many outlets now.
And they paying for stuff.
Yeah, there's so many outlets now for content, and I just wonder if there's going to be a huge flush at some point when they don't make enough money, or if it's just going to keep growing.
I just want to know where all this content and material is going to end up. I remember some channel used to have a show. They had a show about failed pilots. They showed just all the pilots that didn't make it. And Jack Black had one of the funny ones that was on NBC, but it never got on TV. But they just showed all the failed pilots. I thought it was a great idea to show all the shit.
What do you mean? Like they just show pilots who like they want to be pilots?
No, the pilots the TV programs that didn't make it on TV.
Failed pilot. I thought you were
They're not like airplane
pilots.
pilots. No, you go back on the 9/11 story. But yeah, all the failed pilots. I'm interested. A lot of good fucking shows don't make it on.
Yeah.
Just because a network owns it and be like, maybe it don't fit on our network, so nobody gets to see it.
Yeah.
It's like, no, show that shit. We still want to see that. I would love to see old stuff that big stars used to be in and didn't make it. Dave Chappelle said he killed more pilots than Al Qaeda. So there's a pilot.
How did he kill the pilots? I don't understand.
No, that was because he was on it because he said he was so bad at acting.
Yeah.
That the projects never went through.
That's funny. Yeah. But it seems like now there's so many shows where you have like big names. Like you'll get like, Judd Apatow, then this star, then this star, then this star, and this producer, and still they don't get on the air. And meanwhile, Netflix spending $10 billion on like crappy shows.
Yeah. Wouldn't you want to watch all the Chappelle pilots that didn't go on TV?
Yeah.
I would watch the shit out of that.
He should make a YouTube channel of that.
But he would have to buy each one from each network. I think he was on a contract with NBC at that time, I believe. It might have been CBS. But he would have to buy it from them and then... But if he could just do that, take it, and that shit would be... hilarious. Everybody would watch it.
Have you been? You've been on a writer on some shows, right? Like,
Yeah, Colin Tough Crowd and Are We There Yet? I wrote a couple of things on there, but I had a recurring character on that show as well.
Oh yeah.
Ice Cube produced that. Yeah, Terry Crews was the lead. Christian Finnegan was on it too.
So it's just lots of stuff.
Trying to stay busy.
And how many years had you been doing it when you could say to yourself, "Okay, I found my voice"?
I'll let you know when it happens.
So 20 years in.
No, I mean, no, maybe like remnants of it 5 years in. Really got the hang of it, I think, around 10 years in. Lost it 12 years in. Got it back 13 years in.
What does it mean lost it?
No, I'm joking.
Oh.
But, things change and your voice develops and matures and gets, it just, you build layers on top of it.
You should also write a book.
Yeah, I'm thinking about, yeah. I had a meeting with Columbia Publishing.
Oh, okay. And you're still performing all the time at the clubs. You always perform here. I always see you perform here.
Yes, sir.
Are you performing on Tuesday, by the way? Here?
What's Tuesday?
May 8th?
I think somebody sent me something about. What's the show?
It's people who subscribe to some stuff I do. We're rented the club for the day, and I'm emceeing.
Okay, I think I might be doing it. Yes,
That's excellent.
Yes. I think Candy just asked me that today.
Oh, okay,
He
good.
texted me about it.
Yeah.
I think 10:30. I think I'm going to 10 or something like that. Or
Something
8.
like that, yeah. Because we're starting a little late.
Okay.
So,
And what's the show? What is it about? What is this?
just do your thing.
All right, yeah. My job always remained the same.
Yeah.
Kill them.
And well, that's just it. So the other question was, when did you stop caring if the audience was responding to you? And I'm sure there's always an element that you want the audience to respond. That's why you're there on the stage.
Right.
But when did it start, like, I think early on people get in a little bit of a panic when the audience is not responding while they're still on the stage.
Right.
When did you kind of build the thick skin?
Once I knew I could get them when I want to get them, or if I don't get them, it's not a big deal because they could just be a bad crowd. But once I've got confidence in my shit, I knew I didn't have to worry about the crowd because I knew I could give it to them.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so 20 years, would you say there's any kind of hacks to shortcut the 20 years? Like you and Tony had every opportunity to hack it. So maybe there isn't a way because, you were working with each other and you were both super talented. You saw Chris's rise. You'd been in the club since you were 10 years old. What would you do differently now to kind of increase the pace?
I don't think you want to take the shortcut in anything that you're really passionate about and you really want to be a big part of your life.
Yeah.
You want to taste and feel and see and experience all of it. I do. I want to know every nut and bolt on this fucking ship if I'm going to be the captain.
Like who are right now, for instance, you're always trying to improve. Who are the comedians that are most influencing you right now?
Other than me?
Well, I'm assuming you always have
watch
mentors,
everybody.
virtual and real.
I still, Patrice, he's dead, but Patrice O'Neal still influences me. Greg Giraldo, dead, still influences me. Both good friends of mine, really good friends of mine.
Does it bother you that the people you want to emulate are both dead?
No, I like that because I moved up a notch when they died. Everybody moves up a notch. But it was weird though. Comedy brought more death in my life than anything else. More death came in my life because of comedy. From owners, from Manny, the seller dying, of Lucien to fucking DeStefano, Giraldo, Patrice.
Do you think it's because comedians in general have kind of this, people always say there's this little broken quality to someone who's going up there and, trying to get 12 people to laugh in a bar?
That too, yeah, that's part of it too. But I think it's also that once you become a comedian, we're all the same age. That the whole world, it's like no matter if you're 25 or 55. So now your friends could be 35 years older than you. So now, and they can die.
Yeah.
So it's like you just got a different group of people you're around now. You don't realize how your circle changes when you get into comedy, but it changes.
So how did you, I want to talk, I really liked Michelle Wolf's performance at the White House Correspondents' Dinner.
Loved it.
Whether you're a Republican or Democrat, I thought she did what she was supposed to do.
She stuck to her guns.
Yeah, and she's got a show to promote, and she knows that the real audience was the TV audience, not the audience.
Yes, and she played to the right audience.
Right.
That room in there's a hell gig.
Yeah.
These people ain't here for laughing at. That's not a laughing crowd. And
Right.
even the laugh she got, I was like, that's unbelievable. That's a great thing. This is like getting laughs at a wake.
Yeah.
But she stuck to her material. I know everybody at home was like this, oh shit, you heard this bitch? So she did the right thing.
And so how'd you get that gig to be a commentator? How did they pick you to be
CBS?
Yeah.
I've done a lot of stuff for CBS. I did all the newses. I did Good Morning America for the longest.
Yeah, well, maybe, again, I guess it's just a matter of keeping in the mix, and then these things eventually happen.
Yeah, CBS I've done for the last 2 or 3 years with them for that correspondence thing.
And
that's from doing a lot of stuff with them.
So Michelle's a great example, though. So we're obviously we're on the second floor of Stand Up New York doing this podcast. She was doing open mics downstairs for just 4 or 5 years ago.
Yeah,
and she kind of moved up fast.
Yeah, well, she did it every fucking night. Mm-hmm. So yeah, it might be fast in years, but as far as shows and jokes, it's been a long try. I've been there the whole time Michelle's been here, so she worked hard, man. We treat these clubs like this is a gym to us. And she's always working out in the gym. So as long as you're in the gym, nigga, you got a chance to knock out somebody.
It's interesting.
And she knocked that show out.
So right now it seems like obviously you perform all around, but Race Wars, I feel like you're getting more and more known for that. That seems to be your biggest media thing. Yeah, and I want to promote it. It's an excellent podcast.
Thank you.
You're gonna have me on the podcast?
Yes, when you want to come on. Yes,
anytime.
All right, Wednesday, 6 p.m. You there?
Yeah, next Wednesday, 6 p.m. I could do it.
Excellent.
So, and then
Yes.
it's fun. And then do you ever? So Kurt Metzger, who used to write for Inside Amy Schumer, he used to be on the show obviously a lot. And was there anything uncomfortable when he was having his? There was some racial stuff, and then he got ostracized a little bit.
No, that was very comfortable. I laughed the whole way through that. It was all bullshit.
Why do you think the world's become so sensitive to comedians lately?
That's just because everybody wants to try to shut somebody down sometimes, or make their voice heard, even if their voice is stupid. So
I guess also because comedians are being recognized as these modern philosophers. Like you have Jon Stewart and Stephen Colbert. That's where people get their news instead of the BS other news channels.
Right.
And so I think comedians are being acknowledged as having something to say as opposed to just telling one-liner jokes.
But but people got to remember not to put that responsibility on comedians because we're just going to be a reflection of what's happening in society. So if the news sucks, then you're going to have anti-comedy news that's making fun of the fucking news sucking. But don't think that that's the news. Because Jon Stewart ain't the news.
Right.
I don't care how much he makes you laugh and go, it ain't the news. He even said it himself. He comes on after cartoons that curse at each other. It's like, don't take this as the news, but just take it as a different perspective on what the news is doing.
So, Sherrod Small, thanks so much for coming on the podcast.
Thank you, James.
Everybody should listen to Race Wars podcast. What other stuff? How else can people find you?
Yeah, go to smallworldcomedy.com. Website, I have a lot of information on there. And we got a show on May 14th, Small World, Me Familiar Part 1. And it's going to be May 14th, 8 p.m. at the Comedy Cellar. Go to comedycellar.com. It's tickets. We got Sam J and Chase coming through. And I think Leslie Jones. The last week at SNL, so a bunch of SNL people. Chris Redd's on it. And Drew Michael. It's Chase and Drew Michael's birthday, too. So
at the same time?
Yeah.
I like both Michael J. and Drew Michael.
Yeah, a couple days apart.
All right, well, thanks again.
Thank you for having me, man. And
thanks,
racewars.com. Go to patreon.com/racewars. You're a good man, James. A good man.
AI might be the most important new computer technology ever. It's storming every industry and literally billions of dollars are being invested. So buckle up. The problem is that AI needs a lot of speed and processing power, so how do you compete without costs spiraling out of control? It's time to upgrade to the next generation of the cloud, Oracle Cloud Infrastructure, or OCI. OCI is a single platform for your infrastructure, database, application development, and AI needs. OCI has 4 to 8 times the bandwidth of other clouds, offers one consistent price instead of variable regional pricing, and of course, nobody does data better than Oracle. So now you can train your AI models at twice the speed and less than half the cost of other clouds. If you want to do more and spend less, like Uber, 8x8, and Databricks Mosaic, take a free test drive of OCI at oracle.com/advance. That's oracle.com/advance. oracle.com/advance.